Hello, and welcome back to Sleep Science Time. I'm so glad you have found your way here to this quiet space. Tonight, we are preparing for a descent, a slow and gentle journey into the largest and least known habitat on our own planet. This is the story of the deep sea. But this is not a story of monsters or of pressure that crushes. Think of it more as a lullaby for the abyss, an exploration of a world that operates on a different rhythm, a different sense of time, a world of profound silence and soft, living light. So, settle in. Let your body feel the comforting weight of your blankets, and let your mind begin to float. Our journey begins in a place that feels familiar. The sunlit surface of the ocean, the part we know. It is called the epipelagic zone, or the sunlight zone, and it stretches down for about 200 meters, or 650 feet. This is the world of vibrant coral reefs, of playful dolphins, of great schools of fish that shimmer like thrown confetti. It is a world powered by the sun. Microscopic plankton converts sunlight into energy, forming the base of a food chain that feeds nearly everything we associate with ocean life. It is beautiful, active, and full of light. But it is only the very first page of a much, much deeper book. As we begin to sink below this vibrant surface, the world starts to change. The bright, warm colors of the reef begin to fade. The color red is the first to be absorbed by the water, disappearing at only 15 feet. Then orange, then yellow. The world around us softens, shifting into a palette of deep blues and greens. The sounds of the surface world begin to muffle, replaced by a gentle, humming pressure. We are leaving the world of air and light behind. We are crossing a threshold. The pressure on our bodies would already be immense, but in our minds, we are weightless, drifting downwards with a slow and easy grace. We are entering a new kind of quiet, a new kind of space. The story of the deep sea is not just about what is there, but about the journey it takes to reach it. And our journey has just begun. We are now sinking past that 200-meter mark, leaving the last vestiges of the familiar world behind. This is the mesopelagic zone, more commonly known as the Twilight Zone. It is a world of deep, profound blue, a space where sunlight is a fading memory. The pressure here is already immense, enough to crush a human submarine that isn't specifically designed for it. But for the creatures that live here, it is simply home. Down here, the rules of life begin to change in fascinating ways. With not enough sunlight for photosynthesis, there are no plants. The base of the food chain is no longer greenery, but a constant, gentle rain of organic matter from the world above, known as marine snow. It is a slow, silent blizzard of life's leftovers, and it sustains this entire hidden ecosystem. But the most remarkable adaptation to this world of deepening darkness is that life has learned to create its own light. This is the world of bioluminescence. Unlike the hot, consuming light of a fire or a light bulb, this is a cold, chemical light, a silent and efficient glow that creatures use to navigate the blackness. It is the language of the Twilight Zone. Here, we meet creatures that seem to be woven from starlight and shadow. The anglerfish, with its famous fleshy lure, that dangles a glowing orb of light in front of its cavernous mouth, a patient hunter waiting for a curious meal to swim too close. The viperfish, with needle-like transparent teeth and a series of light-producing organs along its belly that help it blend in with the faint light filtering down from above, a technique called counter-illumination. This world is not static. It is home to the largest migration on our planet, which happens every single day. As dusk falls on the surface world, countless creatures from the Twilight Zone, krill, squid, and small fish, begin a slow vertical journey upwards into the richer waters of the sunlight zone to feed under the cover of darkness. Then, before the sun rises, they descend back into the safety of the deep. It is a silent, rhythmic pulse of life, a daily breath taken by the ocean itself. And as we continue to drift downwards, leaving this world of living light behind, the last traces of the sun finally surrender, and we sink into a blackness more complete than any night we have ever known. We are now sinking past the 1,000-meter mark, 4 times deeper than the tallest skyscraper on Earth is high. Here, we leave the last memory of the sun behind and enter a world of absolute and permanent darkness. This is the bathypelagic zone, better known as the midnight zone. The pressure here is crushing, over 100 times the pressure you feel at sea level. The water is near freezing, and there is no light, no warmth, no season, and no day. It is a world of profound stillness. And yet, it is here, in this seemingly empty blackness, that some of the most bizarre and wonderful life on our planet exists. Survival in the midnight zone is an exercise in extreme energy conservation. Food is incredibly scarce, often just the faint, continuous drift of marine snow from the world above. Encounters with prey or a mate may be a once-in-a-lifetime event. The creatures here have adapted in ways that are both ingenious and otherworldly. Here, we might meet the gulper eel. It is a creature that seems to be almost entirely mouth. Its jaw can unhinge to a spectacular degree, allowing it to swallow prey much larger than itself. Its body is little more than a long, whip-like tail. It doesn't hunt in the traditional sense. It is a living, drifting net, waiting for a rare and unfortunate meal to swim by. We might also see the vampire squid. Despite its dramatic name, it is not a vampire, nor is it a true squid. It is a gentle, passive creature that drifts through the darkness with its arms connected by a cloak of webbing. When threatened, it doesn't squirt ink, but instead releases a cloud of glowing, bioluminescent mucus to dazzle and confuse a predator, a firework display in the eternal night. Life here has mastered the art of being invisible. The glass octopus, for example, is almost completely transparent. Its organs are the only visible parts, appearing like strange jewels floating inside a body made of clear gelatin. In a world with no shadows to hide in, the best defense is to become a shadow yourself. These are not monsters. They are solutions, elegant and strange answers to the question of how to live in a world of crushing pressure and absolute darkness. We now leave the midnight zone behind, sinking past the 4,000-meter mark, or 13,000 feet. We have entered a realm named for the very concept of bottomlessness. This is the abyssopelagic zone, the abyss. The pressure here is astronomical, over 400 times the pressure at the surface. And the water is just a few degrees above freezing. It is a world of crushing weight and profound cold. The landscape of the abyss is unlike anything else on Earth. For the most part, it is a vast, flat, and seemingly featureless plain of fine sediment, a desert of accumulated marine snow that has drifted down from the world above over millions of years. It is one of the most uniform and stable environments on our planet. Life here is sparse and has adapted to this extreme environment in beautiful, minimalist ways. Here, we might encounter the strange and wonderful tripod fish. This creature has 3 long, stilt-like fins that it uses to rest on the soft seafloor, facing into the gentle current, waiting patiently for the faint vibration of a tiny crustacean to drift by. It is a life of absolute stillness and energy conservation. Drifting slowly above the seabed, we might see the Glass Octopus, named for the large ear-like fins on the side of its head that it gracefully flaps to propel itself through the water. Unlike many other deep-sea creatures, it has a soft, gentle, almost friendly appearance. A quiet ghost in the endless darkness. The fish that live here are often soft-bodied, with watery muscles and minimal skeletons, as rigid structures are a liability under such immense pressure. Creatures like the cusk eel and the translucent snailfish are masters of this environment, their entire biology a perfect adaptation to the weight of the water. They are a quiet testament to the fact that life can find a way to thrive even in the most hostile corners of our world. We are now sinking past 6,000 meters, or nearly 20,000 feet. We are leaving the abyss behind and entering the deepest, most mysterious, and least explored region on our planet. This is the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the ancient Greek god of the underworld. It is a fitting name. This is a realm of unimaginable pressure and eternal darkness. The Hadal Zone exists only in the deep ocean trenches, the vast, V-shaped canyons that scar the seafloor where one tectonic plate slides beneath another. The pressure here is over 1,000 times the pressure at the surface. It is the equivalent of having the weight of 50 jumbo jets stacked on your thumbnail. The water is perpetually just above freezing. For centuries, we believed a place like this must be completely devoid of life. But we were wrong. Even here, in the deepest and most hostile corners of our world, life has found a way. It is not abundant, but it is there, a quiet testament to the sheer tenacity of biology. The undisputed king of this realm is the Hadal snailfish. It is a small, ghostly, tadpole-shaped fish with a soft, translucent body that has no scales. It is beautifully adapted to the crushing pressure, its gelatinous body and flexible bones, allowing it to survive where any other vertebrate would be instantly destroyed. They are the deepest living fish ever discovered, gliding gracefully through a world that should be impossible. The other inhabitants of this world are often scavengers, relying on the faintest scraps of marine snow or the rare, precious gift of a carcass that has made the long journey down from the world above. Here, we find giant amphipods, which look like pale, oversized shrimp, acting as the cleanup crew of the deep. Even in these crushing depths, there can be oases of activity. Scientists have discovered active hydrothermal vents on the walls of these trenches, spewing out chemical-rich water and supporting unique communities of microbes. The Hadal zone is not a dead end. It is a final, hidden frontier of life. It is a quiet reminder that no matter how deep we go, no matter how hostile the environment seems, the impulse for life to exist, to adapt, and to endure is perhaps the most powerful force in the universe. To exist in the deep sea is to be a master of adaptation. The creatures that live here are not just surviving, they are thriving thanks to a set of biological tools honed over hundreds of millions of years of evolution. Their bodies are living blueprints for how to solve the problems of darkness, pressure, and scarcity. Let's return to the concept of bioluminescence, the living light. It is not just a beautiful spectacle, it is a sophisticated language. Some creatures use it to hunt, like the anglerfish with its glowing lure, but others use it for defense. The vampire squid, when threatened, can release a cloud of glowing mucus, a disorienting smokescreen of light to confuse its attacker. Many fish and shrimp use a technique called counter-illumination, with light-producing organs on their bellies that perfectly match the faint blue light filtering down from above, making them completely invisible to predators looking up from below. Light in the deep is the ultimate form of camouflage. Then there is the problem of pressure. How does a creature survive a weight that would crush metal? The solution is to not fight it. Many deep-sea animals are soft and gelatinous, with very few rigid parts or air-filled spaces like swim bladders that could collapse. Their bodies are mostly water, which is nearly incompressible, allowing them to be at one with the pressure around them. At a chemical level, their biology is even more ingenious. Their cells are filled with special molecules called piezolites that protect their delicate proteins and enzymes from being bent out of shape by the extreme pressure. It is a quiet molecular armor that allows the very machinery of life to function under a weight that seems impossible. And finally, there is the scarcity of food. Life in the deep is slow. Metabolic rates are often incredibly low to conserve energy between rare meals. Jaws are often enormous to ensure that any potential meal, no matter how large, can be consumed. The creatures of the deep are masters of patience, of minimalism, and of making the absolute most out of very little. They are a quiet lesson in the profound efficiency of life in the dark. For most of history, we believed that all life on Earth ultimately depended on the sun. Plants use sunlight for photosynthesis, herbivores eat the plants, and carnivores eat the herbivores. It seemed like a universal law. But deep on the ocean floor, in total darkness, scientists have discovered entire ecosystems that break this rule completely. Imagine a crack in the seafloor, thousands of meters down. From it, superheated water, black with dissolved minerals from deep within the Earth's crust, erupts into the freezing ocean. These are hydrothermal vents, or black smokers. And surrounding these seemingly toxic plumes, life flourishes in abundance. There are giant tube worms, some taller than a human, with blood-red plumes that have no mouth and no stomach. There are blind white crabs and dense fields of mussels and clams. The secret to these impossible gardens is a process called chemosynthesis. Instead of using sunlight for energy, the bacteria that form the base of this food chain consume the harsh chemicals erupting from the vents, like hydrogen sulfide. They are life powered by the heat and chemistry of the planet itself. The discovery of these vent communities in 1977 was one of the most profound in the history of biology. Even stranger are the brine pools. These are like lakes within the ocean. They are depressions on the seafloor filled with water that is so incredibly salty it is much denser than the surrounding seawater and does not mix. You can see the shoreline and even ripples on the surface of these underwater lakes. For most sea creatures, this ultra-salty water is toxic. But on the shores of these pools, unique communities of microbes and mussels have adapted to thrive in this alien environment. These discoveries have completely changed how we think about where life might exist, not just on Earth, but in the wider universe. Moons like Jupiter's Europa or Saturn's Enceladus are covered in ice, but we believe they have vast liquid water oceans beneath, warmed by the pull of their parent planets. If life can thrive in the dark, cold, high-pressure vents of our own oceans, powered only by chemistry, then why not there? The deep sea is not just a home for strange creatures. It is a blueprint for what life might look like on other worlds. Before we had science, we had stories. For most of human history, the deep sea was not a place to be measured, but a place to be feared. It was the great unknown, the dark and watery underworld of our planet, and we filled it with monsters born from our own anxieties. Nearly every ancient culture that lived by the sea had a name for its terror. The ancient Norse told tales of the Kraken, a colossal squid-like creature that could pull entire ships down into the depths. Hebrew tradition spoke of the Leviathan, a coiled, primordial sea serpent representing the forces of chaos. These were not just fairy tales. They were a way to give a name to the terrifying power of an ocean that could swallow ships and sailors without a trace. For centuries, maps made by sailors venturing into unknown waters would be decorated with drawings of these sea monsters in the margins, sometimes with the famous warning, "Here be dragons." These stories were born from fleeting glimpses in the fog and the swell of the waves. The tentacle of a giant squid, the unfamiliar shape of a decaying whale carcass, or the immense size of a peaceful basking shark. In the absence of knowledge, our imagination filled the void with fear. In the 19th century, science tried to replace this fear with a reason. Many believed the deep sea was completely lifeless, a barren void too cold and too pressurized for anything to survive. But this, too, was a kind of myth, a myth of emptiness. That myth was shattered in 1872, when the research ship HMS Challenger set sail on a groundbreaking 4-year expedition. It dragged nets through the deepest parts of the ocean and pulled up creatures no one had ever seen. They were not the dragons or krakens of legend, but they were, in their own way, just as strange. Life was not absent in the deep, it was just well hidden. Science began to replace the old monsters with new, real ones. and the story of the deep sea began to change from one of pure fear to one of profound wonder. For most of human history, the deep sea was a place of imagination. But in the 19th and 20th centuries, a new kind of explorer, armed with science and incredible courage, began to pull back the curtain of darkness. The story of deep-sea exploration is a story of quiet bravery and profound discovery. It began not with submarines, but with simple ropes and nets. The HMS Challenger expedition in 1872 was the first voyage dedicated purely to ocean science. For 4 years, it circled the globe, dredging the seafloor and proving, once and for all, that life existed in the crushing dark. It replaced myth with measurement and opened the door to a new age of inquiry. But to truly see this world required a descent. In the 1930s, the naturalist William Beebe and engineer Otis Barton did something that was considered impossible. They squeezed into a tiny, cramped steel sphere called the bathysphere and had themselves lowered by a cable into the abyss off the coast of Bermuda. They were the first humans to witness the deep sea in its natural state, describing a world of living lights and ghostly creatures that many scientists at the time refused to believe. The final frontier of depth was conquered in 1960. 2 men, Jacques Picard and Don Walsh, boarded a strange-looking submersible called the Trieste. Over 5 hours, they descended nearly 7 miles to the very bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest known point on Earth. They landed in a place of absolute silence and crushing pressure, and in their brief time there, they saw life. They proved that no part of our planet was truly lifeless. Since then, we have continued to explore with modern submersibles like Alvin, which discovered the incredible hydrothermal vent ecosystems, and a fleet of remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, that act as our robotic eyes in the dark. Each dive, each discovery, is a testament to the human spirit of curiosity, our quiet, persistent need to understand the world, no matter how deep or dark it may be. Our journey of discovery into the deep sea is far from over. In fact, a new era of exploration is just beginning, one powered not just by brave explorers in submersibles, but by artificial intelligence, autonomous robots, and a new global sense of responsibility. The challenge of exploring the deep is no longer just about reaching it. It's about understanding the vast amount of information it sends back. A single dive by a remotely operated vehicle can generate thousands of hours of high-definition video. To analyze this, scientists are now turning to artificial intelligence. They are training sophisticated AI to watch this footage, to recognize known species, and, most excitingly, to flag an animal or a behavior that it has never seen before. In the future, many of our discoveries will be made not by a human eye, but by the patient digital gaze of a learning machine. We are also learning to see without looking, a revolutionary technique called environmental DNA, or eDNA, allows scientists to simply collect a sample of water from the deep. By analyzing the tiny invisible fragments of genetic material that all creatures shed, they can identify which species are living in that part of the ocean, even if they never physically see them. It is a quiet, gentle, and incredibly powerful new way to map the biodiversity of this hidden world. But this new era of discovery comes with a new and urgent challenge: conservation. As our technology on land advances, the demand for rare metals for things like batteries and electronics has led some to look to the deep sea floor. Vast plains of the abyss are scattered with potato-sized rocks called polymetallic nodules, which are rich in these valuable materials. The idea of deep-sea mining is now a reality, and it poses a profound threat to these ancient, slow-growing ecosystems that we are only just beginning to understand. This has created a quiet race against time. Scientists are working to understand these fragile habitats before they are potentially damaged or lost forever. There is a growing global call for caution, for the creation of vast marine protected areas, and for a new philosophy of stewardship for the last truly wild frontier on our planet. The future of the deep sea is not just about what we can discover there. It's about what we choose to protect. What is it exactly that draws us to the abyss? It is not a warm or welcoming place. It is not built for us. And yet, the thought of the deep ocean pulls at us in a quiet, persistent way. The abyss, after all, is not just a physical place. It is a powerful symbol. It stands for everything that lies outside our comfort, beyond our perception, and at the very edge of our understanding. Philosophers and poets have long seen the ocean as a metaphor for the unknown, for the unconscious mind, for the eternal. We use its language to describe our own inner worlds. We talk of feelings being deep. We plunge into thought. We sink into sadness. To go deep, even in our own minds, is to risk change, to explore a place without light or landmarks. The deep sea does not simply contain strange creatures. It contains strange truths. Imagine for a moment being a fish that has never seen the sun, that knows no day or season, no horizon, no sky. For such a creature, the concept of up might mean nothing at all. The surface world would be a distant myth. In this way, the abyss is like a mirror. It reminds us that our own sunlit world is just one small part of a much larger reality. It teaches us a kind of quiet humility, the recognition that we are not the measure of all things. The life that thrives in the trenches, in the cold and the dark, is not waiting for our approval. And so, when we send our machines and our curiosity down into those depths, we are not just exploring an alien world. We are, in a way, exploring ourselves. We are extending our minds into a place we cannot physically go, and in doing so, we ask a question that science alone cannot answer. Why are we so drawn to the mystery? Perhaps the answer is that the deep sea reflects the part of us that resists simple explanation, the part that values quiet, and the part that believes in something larger than ourselves. The deep sea may feel like a remote and alien world, 1,000 atmospheres away, but it is not separate from us. Its quiet, slow rhythms are intimately connected to our daily lives in ways we rarely ever consider. Its health is our health. Its presence shapes the very air we breathe. Let's begin with your next breath. Take a slow, deep inhale. Roughly half of the oxygen in that breath was produced not by trees or forests, but by tiny microscopic organisms in the ocean called phytoplankton. These tiny life forms which live in the sunlit surface waters, are the foundation of the marine food web. But their survival depends on the deep. The slow, constant circulation of the ocean, the great conveyor belt of currents, brings nutrient-rich water up from the abyss to fertilize these sunlit gardens. Without the deep, the surface would be a desert, and the air we breathe would be profoundly different. The deep sea also acts as our planet's great thermostat. The ocean has absorbed over 90% of the excess heat and a significant portion of the carbon dioxide that we have put into the atmosphere. It is the deep, dark, cold water that does the majority of this work, slowly pulling heat and carbon from the surface and storing it in the abyss for centuries. This process helps to regulate our global climate, softening the effects of climate change. The deep is not just a habitat. It is the quiet, beating heart of our planet's climate system. And so, this world that seems so distant is, in fact, all around us. It is in the weather patterns that cross our continents, in the food we eat, and in the very oxygen that sustains us. The deep is not a world apart, but the world within, the silent, invisible foundation upon which our own sunlit lives depend. It is easy to think of the deep sea as the most remote place on Earth, but its presence is woven into our world in ways we often don't recognize. Its echoes are hidden in our technology, our culture, and even in the very tools we use for relaxation. Consider, for a moment, the Internet. The global network that connects us, that carries our messages and streams our videos, is not a satellite-based system. It is a physical web of fiber optic cables, bundled and armored, laid carefully across the vast, dark plains of the ocean floor. The abyss, a place of profound silence, is the quiet conduit for the entire world's conversation. The web of our digital lives is physically cradled by the deepest, most ancient part of our planet. The deep also inspires us. The bizarre, beautiful, and utterly alien forms of the creatures that live there have influenced artists, designers, and storytellers for generations. The sleek, otherworldly look of a science fiction spaceship might be inspired by the bioluminescent grace of a deep-sea jellyfish. The creatures in our myths and movies, from the fantastical to the terrifying, are often born from our attempts to imagine what might be lurking in the dark. And perhaps the most intimate connection of all is the one we seek in our quietest moments. Ocean sounds are one of the most popular and effective aids for sleep and meditation in the world. We listen to the gentle wash of waves, but also to the low humming drones recorded by hydrophones in the deep. Why do we find these sounds so comforting? It is because the deep sea does not ask anything of us. It has no jarring noises, no sudden interruptions. It is a rhythm that is more ancient than human language, more steady than a heartbeat. In a world that is often loud, fast, and demanding, the sound of the deep is a reminder of a different kind of existence, one that is slow, patient, and profoundly peaceful. It is a connection not just to nature, but to a state of being that our own minds often crave. We have journeyed together from the sunlit surface to the crushing darkness of the Hadal trenches. We have met the strange and beautiful creatures of the deep, explored the history of our own curiosity, and felt the profound connection between this hidden world and our own. And now, we are left with a final peaceful thought. We will likely never know everything about the deep sea. There are trenches we will never visit, creatures we will never see, and mysteries we will never solve. And perhaps that is the greatest gift the abyss has to give us. In our modern world, we are used to having answers. We have maps, encyclopedias, and search engines. We have come to expect that all questions can be answered, that all frontiers can be conquered. But the deep sea reminds us that there is a profound beauty and a deep importance in mystery. It is a quiet counterpoint to our noisy, certain world. It is a reminder that our planet is still wild, that it holds secrets we may never uncover. And this is not a failure of our knowledge, but an invitation to our wonder. The existence of a vast, unknown space on our own planet gives us a sense of scale, a feeling of humility, and a reason to keep looking, not with the goal of conquering, but with the simple, gentle joy of knowing that there is always more to the story. The mystery is not a void to be filled, but a presence to be felt, a quiet and constant companion to our own small, curious lives. And so, our long, slow descent comes to a gentle end. We have drifted through the silent, starlit world of the deep sea, a place of profound mystery and quiet beauty. We have seen that life is tenacious, that it thrives in the most impossible of places, and that our own world is deeply connected to this hidden realm. The abyss does not offer easy answers. It leaves us with a sense of wonder, a feeling of humility, and the quiet comfort of knowing that our planet still holds great unsolved mysteries. As you now settle into your final moments before sleep, I want to thank you for sharing your quiet space with me tonight. Thank you for staying, for wondering, and for being here. I can only keep making these videos because of your support, and I truly value every moment you spend with this channel. If you found this journey relaxing and want me to bring you more, please consider leaving a gentle like or subscribing. It truly helps the channel grow and allows me to bring more of these calm, scientific stories to you in the future. My hope is that I have relaxed you, even just a little bit. And if you have already drifted off to sleep, that is wonderful. That is what I am here for after all, to bring you some educational comfort. Sleep well, may you have sweet dreams, and good night.